So hi and welcome to our fire hall again. This is a result of this COVID-19 outbreak where we're having some changes in our hall. Everybody's aware of the fact that we limited exposure to our hall and how we're operation. So we're kind of going to go through the basics of what we're doing to limit firefighter and our equipment to exposures during this 19 outbreak that we have going. I've got Dan here. Dan's going to go through the portion of the decon of our equipment. I'm just going to touch base on what we're going to be providing in terms of reference material that will be required for all firefighters attending whatever call we get. We were on the line today with the fire marshal's office. She reminded me to make our membership aware of the emergency in all of our situations is this pandemic. The pandemic is the emergency. What we do doesn't change a whole lot. How we do it has changed slightly. We will be treating these calls a little differently to protect and mitigate the exposure that we're doing inside our fire department. So I'm going to be touching on personnel, vehicles, and how we will be doing and responding in those events, and I'll give you to Dan. He'll give you a quick summary of what he's going to be going over.
So good evening, gentlemen. I'm going to be touching on decontamination of personnel, apparatus, and tools tonight. So we'll go through a quick little decon kit that we have on the truck, as well as products that we have here at the hall for complete decontamination and resetting of the vehicles. So I'll hand it back over to the chief, and he can talk about department operations.
So quickly, trucks. When we're responding, as we have in the past, we will respond with the appropriate truck for the call. Highway calls, medical calls, CO calls, whatever we get. That list doesn't change, so again, everybody should be familiar with which vehicle we're using for which. So if we get a call for a CO, we're leaving with?
So we're leaving with the rescue and with pumper.
Okay, we're limiting the number of people that are responding in any given vehicle to a maximum of 2 personnel. So we will no longer be filling the seats. So maximum response, 2 people per vehicle to maintain this spatial recommendation by the health unit. And in the event that we have an active fire call, in order to respond with adequate personnel, we're going to have 4 max firefighters, 2 in the rear facing seats, 2 people in the front. So it'll be very important that we send this vehicle with maximum personnel. Again, depending on the number of people that respond, we should have the ability with this truck and our other pumper to field 6 plus whoever else is responding in our rescue van. So we have the ability to get adequate personnel to these scenes to safely fight. As Dan pointed out to myself, the risk to us is much greater from the fire that we're going to be attending. And I do believe that the majority of our people will be comfortable in fighting fire now, to some extent. So having to sit in a confined area in a truck with the personnel, I don't think our exposures, hopefully our department has been limiting their exposure outside and doing what was asked of them. I know our guys are a great group, so hopefully everybody's safe, knows that they're safe, and bring that back to the group. We're a group that's responding as best we can.
So just to touch on firefighting operations. So a lot of stuff that, if you guys just think back in your training, we've done limited staffing procedures. So if we do get a fire, remember, command doesn't have to be solely command. Your pump op can be command. It's perfectly acceptable in the industry. A lot more work for said pump operator IC, but that's one person that can do 2 roles. Your attack teams, so instead of having a lead and a backup, if you're defensive exterior firefighting, you can do just 1 nozzleman. Remember, you can do a coil, sit on it, you can do clamp slides to maneuver your hose lines, We have the unmanned monitor on the other side of the truck. You can set up as an exposure protection nozzle. It has the capability to flow 1,000 gallons a minute. So if you have something that's massive, set that up, leave it. This truck will pump that, and then use pumper 5 for additional lines. Just be mindful that there's going to be an increased workload with limited staffing, but we're used to operating with 6, 7 guys already. So just do what you can with what you have, and then obviously if we need more resources, we can make a call. We'll get more apparatus down here or additional personnel from our station down. And then just be mindful that decon is going to be more work than what the call is going to be, so just keep that in mind.
So that's the only thing in that return. Responding to CO calls. So 1 truck, 2 personnel. 1 personnel with limited PPE will attend the interior surveillance and recon of the CO call. So they're going to use a mask, gloves, their coveralls. Make sure when they're interacting with whoever's at the building, apartment, school, wherever they go, that they kind of make sure they keep that spatial separation. They treat everybody like it's a hazmat call. So limit your exposure, distance, limit your exposure, the time you're in the environment. The other thing we have to do is make sure that we do the job correctly. So CO calls, a little difficult to rush it through. You have to do your scene survey floor by floor. If in the event that you receive a reading, you're going to communicate that to your other personnel. You're going to back up. You're going to go to full PPE with respirator. So SCBA, and then you're going to revisit the building. Communication is going to become a key component of this. I know we're experiencing issues. I've been in contact with Spectrum to come and see if they can rectify this broken communication that we have. As of today, I haven't heard back from them, but I'm assuming they will be trying to rectify this. So again, limit the number of people in the trucks, limit the exposure to the to whatever it is. In this case, we're limiting our exposure to the possibility of this COVID-19. So being a droplet spread virus, if you can maintain space, you can stay out of the sneeze path, you can avoid contact with mucus, soft, any moisture that people put off. So coughing, sneezing, don't touch surfaces that may contain it. If you're wearing your proper PPE, you should not have a risk of exposure, okay? So we're trying to be as safe as we can, and we're trying to mitigate anybody's apprehension about this. So our emergency in this pandemic is the pandemic itself. Everything we do will kind of remain on a as normal as is basis.
Hey guys, so the COVID-19 PPE on Rescue 7 is found in the back of the truck. So we have N95s, we have some gloves, and we have some eye protection. On Pumper 8, guys, the PPE is found underneath the rear jump seats. So we have eye protection, N95s, and gloves. We also have hand sanitizer in the front. And then finally on Pumper 5, everything's in the center console here. So we have some eye protection and some gloves. And we'll have a couple N95s here as well.
Right now.
Perfect. So we'll go into decon, and we'll take you guys through what we have on the apparatus, where they are on the apparatus, and then we'll go through how to properly decon. I'll do a seat, like an area of the cab, we'll decon. We'll take a tool, and then we'll go through some PPE stuff. And that way everybody should be covered on what we're doing. Hey guys, so we're going to talk about decon right now. So on Pumper 8, we have a new decon kit. So this decon kit is primarily emphasized on like structural firefighting, vehicle fires, etc. So where we're exposed to a contaminant that we need to get off. It's not necessarily a hazardous materials decontamination kit, so like spills and stuff. However, it can be used to get like oil, gas, stuff off like that. We've amended it this week with like sanitizing agents, so that way we can deal with the obvious COVID-19 outbreak stuff. So the kit is found at the rear compartment, pump rate on the driver's side, in a pail, and then we just have some disinfectant. Okay, so this is our decon kit. It's found on pump 8. So we'll go ahead, we'll open it up. So the first thing we'll find is we have a garden hose in here. So we have a nozzle. We have a hose that reaches from the front to the back of the truck. I think it's about a 25-foot hose or a 30-foot hose. We have a valve attachment that fits on a 2.5-inch port. Labeled on it is maximum 30 psi. So if you are operating this device, tell your pump operator no more than 30 psi to the valve. So truck at idle and gate back the hydrant. Make sure that he's only supplying 30 psi. Anything more than that and we'll start breaking the components. Bottle of hand sanitizer. We have some gear cleaner, some Citro Squeeze. We have some mild Dawn soap. We have some rubber washing gloves. You can also use nitrile gloves. We have 2 pairs. We're working on getting a supply of Hero wipes. So these would be your wipes to wash your skin. We have an assortment of hard bristle brushes for scrubbing. And then we have a supply of 3 mil garbage bags. Basically to put your PPE in when we're done deconning it. And then we have biohazard bags, so for any biohazard contamination. So first we'll talk about decon. So how to decon a firefighter at the scene. So structure fire, we're packing up, we're ready to leave, but we need to decon our crew, right? So if you're getting right on the fire and you have to pack up your tools and whatnot and you don't want to take your gear off, then we're going to do what's called a gross decon. So gross decon entails your firefighters full PPE, masked up on here, standing arms spread and feet shoulder width apart. You're going to take your fire hose and you basically start from the top on 30-degree fog, 50 psi, and you're just going to sweep from top to bottom, front and back, your entire firefighter. So that's going to get rid of all your kind of large debris, your large contaminants. We'll be able to make your firefighter clean to work at the scene. So after that, you take your SCBA off, you take your mask off, balaclava, helmet, whatever, and then you're good to, like, repack hose, put gear back on the truck, etc., etc. Now, before you put your equipment and hose back on the truck, good idea to wash that. Do a good little wash at the scene. Just with some brush and some water, with a little bit of soap, and then that way there, when you put the gear back on the truck, you're not contaminating the vehicle with any like large solids like soot, any gravel, particles, sand, stuff like that. When you get back to the hall, you can take the gear off the truck and like do a good wash with like some actual gear cleaner, some equipment cleaner. We have some equipment cleaner I'll pull out in a second, which is up the hall, and that's where you would give a good scrub to everything, including the SCBAs. And that way everything's good to go back on the truck. It's clean, it's decontaminated, and it's good for the next crew coming on. So this is kind of what the setup would look like. Like, you have your pail, you would set it up next to the truck, you can set it up next to the pump handle. Everything's shut down at this point. So you're still hooked to a hydrant. Just minimal pressure coming into the truck, so we want to maintain that maximum of 30 psi. We have our garden hose attached to our 2.5-inch. So all we're going to do is we're going to pull our lever out until we register 30 psi on our gauge, lock it so that no inadvertent bumps will cause this line to blow. Now our line is charged, so what we want to do is we want to just do a quick rinse. So we'll rinse the firefighter down, and then we're going to get into cleaning them. So in order to clean your firefighter properly, we have some wash gloves. So just put these wash gloves on, or you can use nitrile gloves. These are a little bit thicker. So you're going to spray your firefighter down with Citro Squeeze. So spray your firefighter. You don't have to heavily spray him down, but spray him down enough so that you're able to get some lather or rather some bubbles forming. If you have heavily soiled areas, like especially like knee pads, toes of the boots, cuffs, spray those down really generously and then scrub them hard. We have a couple different styles of brushes. And so after you spray, scrub. So you want to scrub until all the soiling is removed. And then if you have, so if you're heavily soiling here and not much soiling up here, you just brush quickly. You don't have to go in detail. Do that for the whole firefighter, front and back. Again, have your firefighter stand arms spread, feet shoulder width apart, and then have him turn for you. Have him turn. Once he's fully scrubbed down, then you again come back to your hose and then rinse your firefighter off. Taking great care to make sure you remove all of the soap and the cleaner, because this Citro Squeeze does eat the gear if it remains on the gear for too long. So wash them, both sides, front, back, up and down, all the crannies, nooks and crannies, get everything. Once your firefighter has been decontaminated, we will then instruct him to place his gear in a 3 ml plastic bag. So at this point, you want to issue him some nitrile gloves that are found in the truck. He'll put some gloves on, and then he'll handle his PPE. PPE will then go into the bag. Just tie the bag. We'll have some duct tape put in here, so you just duct tape the top of the bag, and you can throw that bag up into the hose bed, and then proceed back to the hall. Personal decontamination. So when your firefighter removes his gear, puts it in the truck, we want to decontaminate the skin areas where absorption occurs. So we're working on getting a supply of hero wipes, and basically what you would do with that is you take the wipe, you do your neck, throw that away, you take a new wipe, you do your forearms, do your hands, throw that away. In the meantime, we have some disinfectant and we have some mild soap. So for the mild soap, we could fill up our pail a little bit with some mild soap. We could run our hands in there, run our forearms, wash, and then rinse off. That way your firefighter is decontaminated from the byproducts of combustion that could enter the bloodstream via absorption. After that's all done, firefighter could go on the truck and he's good to be placed back in service. His gear is on top of the truck, so we know the cab's not contaminated. Unfortunately, we don't have a way to wash SCBAs on the scene, but just be mindful that a gross decon, you can do gross decon with a fire hose, or you can do gross decon with the garden hose. Again, if you want, you can take some mild soap with a brush and just brush down any heavily soiled areas on the SCBA, and then just rinse it off and just put it in the truck. Be mindful that when you put a dirty SCBA back in the truck, you'll have to clean that area in the truck extensively. So now we'll talk about COVID-19 responses, decontamination, that respect. So obviously our PPE is going to be gloves, eye protection, and then your N95 mask. So after you're done with that, after you've removed your gloves, we have hand sanitizer in the decon kit, and we have hand sanitizer in the cab of each truck. So all you want to do is you want to just put some hand sanitizer, front, back, and then in between your fingers, and you want to do that for approximately 20 seconds. Make sure that you work it into your skin. And then once your hands are dry again, then you can basically, you can say that your hands have been decontaminated. When your hands are decontaminated, then we have some Lysol spray, and then we could start cleaning any equipment that we have been used, any surfaces in the truck, and then we could use some wipes. So some shop towels, some paper towel, that sort of thing. We will be adding paper towel to the truck, so we'll have that available for us as well to use. So we'll come back to the hall, guys. We'll just sanitize our hands. So front, back in between fingers, and then just work it minimum 20 seconds until most of the liquid has been worked in. Making sure to get all those nooks and crannies. And now we're good to go back to work. Okay guys, so we talked about how to do a fairly technical decontamination on scene of your PPE. So now we're going to talk about how to, so we're back to the hall, we've gross deconned all our equipment that we've used, we've technically deconned our gear has been bagged, we've brought it back to the hall, we're now going to hang our PPE on the drying rack, it's done, we don't have to deal with it anymore. You can keep your boots on and do your other hall work that you need to do, because at this point, primarily everything is done. So the next thing we want to do is we want to technically decontaminate our equipment. So we'll use our irons for instance. So we've used our irons, they were heavily soiled, we've gross deconned them on scene. Next thing we want to do is we're going to get our wash brush and we're going to put some mild soap and we're just going to wash our tools. So we're going to use mild soap, wash them, get all that soiling off the tools, bring them back clean again. During this COVID-19 crisis, what we're going to do is we're also going to disinfect the tools. So found on the truck is some disinfectant spray and some paper towel. So all we're going to do is we're just going to spray the tool, get some paper towel. Be sure to get on the underside of the tool as well. Getting rid of all of the disinfectant. And that tool is now disinfected. So a very quick, very rapid procedure. And then we can now say that this tool is safely decontaminated. We've done a gross decon, we've done a technical decon with mild soap and water, and with disinfectant. Now, the compartment itself, we can just take a couple sprays, and we can just wipe down the compartment. By wiping down the compartment, we can now put the tool back into a clean environment so that it's not recontaminated. We would do the same for the axe. Then when we're done with the axe, put our tools back together. And place the tool back in the truck. So we do that for every tool that we would use, do that for the compartments that the tools came from, and continue on down the line. Hey guys, we're going to talk about our coverall PPE. So, gross decon at the scene, bag and tag, come back to the hall, designate one person wearing nitrile gloves and 95 mask and some face protection, and he's going to be dealing with washing this. So what we're going to do is we're going to put them in the washing machine. Probably wash 2 sets at a time. So we would put a second set in here. Chief's working on getting some cleaner for us. So the cleaner will be found up here. Put the appropriate amount of cleaner in here and wash and ready to rock and roll. When that's done, hang it to dry and clean the next set of gear. All right guys, so one thing that we want to remember is that we're decontaminating for being contaminated, right? So we're not going to decontaminate a pump operator who's been at the truck the entire time, hasn't been in contact with the structure, with the incident, with the patient, occupant, so on and so forth. We're only decontaminating people who have been downrange, so people who've been interacting with structure fire, vehicle fire, interacting with the public, so people on NBC, dealing with a patient, house occupants, those sort of things. So especially for this COVID-19 stuff, if you've been exposed to a person who is not a member of the fire department, we want to just decontaminate your PPE, decontaminate whatever tools you've been working with, etc., etc. As far as the apparatus is concerned, we will disinfect the apparatus every time we use it. That way our apparatus is deemed safe, so that way when we roll to another incident, we're not actually getting infected by our truck. Same goes with structure fires, so on and so forth. We want to take just some mild soap and water, clean everything down, or a mild cleaner, and make the cab of the truck safe, because we're not always in the truck with our full PPE, right? We're in it with our civilian clothes, we're in it when we're doing truck checks, publics are in these trucks. So we want to make sure that the cabs of these vehicles are super clean. So we get back to the haul, guys. We want to use some fantastic cleaner to be found over in the washroom, and we're just going to spray down the interior of the truck. So we just want to start, just give a light spray. Take some paper towel. And you're just gonna clean the seats. Obviously, the fabric portions of the seats are gonna be hard to clean, but if we can just clean all the hard surfaces of the truck, seat belt holders, everything. Get the doors, windows, especially the door handles, anything where you would be touching. If you had a heavily soiled vehicle, like after a call, and you had some heavy debris in the truck, then obviously we would be cleaning footwells, fender wells, we'd be cleaning the floor, cleaning the door panels, taking the SCBA would be out getting technically decontaminated, and we'd be cleaning inside the seats as well. If you're in the front steering wheel, you want to get all the control buttons, switches, just do a quick disinfect of all of those as well. And that way there, our trucks are safe for us to be in. Hey guys, this is a wildly unprecedented time for us across the fire service industry, across the world. I don't think anybody's ever seen anything quite like this. I know training has been not exactly correct the last couple weeks, and pushing forward, trying to make changes. So hopefully this week is trial week. Hopefully the 3 different options route works for you guys. Trying really hard with working with Paul to get an adequate training package delivered to you guys through this downtime. We're going to attempt to keep everything, options 1 and 2, we're going to try and keep them about half hour each in total length. And then with your worksheets, obviously, we'll make up another 15-20 minutes. The option 3 will be the longer courses. So hopefully you guys enjoy this new format for the time being. Again, email me, email Chief if you have any questions, want any updates, give me some feedback. Bear with me. I really thank you for your patience and your understanding in this period. I'm struggling pretty hard to develop adequate training. So hopefully this new style works for you guys. It should be a lot simpler, a lot faster, a lot less headaches for you guys, trying to streamline it. Every week, Chief and I will make a training program for you guys, and we'll try and have option 1, 2, and 3 all kind of the same topic. And that way there, whatever topic you pick, you get the administered training. So we really would like if you guys send us those worksheets back. We can enter them into the system. We can put them in your training records. Currently, it's kind of the only way that we can accurately gauge training. Again, we hope to be back doing practical training as soon as possible, but in this time, obviously, we have to maintain our distance. So any feedback is greatly appreciated. Email me, training.mattawa@gmail.com, or email the chief at firechiefmattawa@mattawa.ca, and we'll try and make any updates or any amendments. We'll try and get those rolled out as quick as possible. So this week will be a trial week. Hopefully next week will go a lot smoother. Thank you for your time again, and we'll see you later.